and occupied the Cape. Came and occupied the Cape of South Africa. And when Napoleon came and occupied the Cape of South Africa, by then were the Dutch, who were actually the leaders of the Cape. The Dutch saw how stubborn Napoleon was. They looked at the intention of Napoleon, that Napoleon's intention was to totally take over the Cape, rule it, and dominate it as a leader. So what did the Dutch do after seeing Napoleon taking over the Cape? The Dutch went and requested the Queen of England to come and give them the support. Teacher, why the Queen of England of all the countries within Europe? Napoleon had one challenge, that Napoleon, all countries in Europe had challenged Napoleon and had defeated Napoleon. But one country like this, Britain, Napoleon had defeated all countries in Europe, but he had never defeated Britain. Whenever Napoleon would go to war with England or with Britain, Britain would defeat Napoleon. Napoleon defeated Austria, Napoleon defeated Holland, Napoleon one time defeated Russia, Napoleon defeated Prussia, Napoleon defeated almost all the countries, but he had never defeated Britain. That's why maybe even the leader of Holland, after Napoleon occupying the Cape, said, no, let's go and request the support from the Queen of England. The Queen would actually come and help us silence this creature, Napoleon. The Queen sent, the British came and sent the support to come and fight Napoleon. And when the British came to fight Napoleon, history tells us that when Napoleon saw that the British had come, he asked them why they were there. They had to tell him, for us, we have been invited by the King of Holland to come and help him at the Cape because you were actually trying to take away the Cape. Napoleon said, okay, it means I'm the problem. You have come because I'm the problem. Does it mean that if I leave, you can also leave? If you're not actually interested in taking over the Cape? Yes, because for us we have come. Did you think that they invited us? Oh, so if I go because I'm the problem, you can go. Of course we can go, because the reason why we came here is to fight against you. Oh, Napoleon told the British, now let's sign an agreement. Let's meet at a place called the Amiens. We signed a peace agreement of Amiens. And under this agreement that we are going to sign of Amiens, you are packing, because you had come since I was the problem. So you're packing and going back. I will also pack and go back to France. We gave back the Cape right to the rightful owner. Who's the rightful owner by then would be the Dutch, because I had come to attack them. You had come to rescue them. So for us, let's pack and go. They packed and left. The British left, the French left. They gave back the Cape to the rightful owner, and those were the Dutch. Though we shall see that the Dutch were given now a new name called the Bataviani Republic. That second coming of the Dutch, they came in a new reversed name, and the name was called Batavians. So they were now the Batavian leaders at the Cape. But now, in the agreement of Amiens, they had done something, or they had made an agreement. The British and the Dutch and the French had agreed. Don't ever come back and work with the Dutch. Even the British told the Dutch, the French, also don't ever come back. We have all signed to leave. We are leaving. But we see Napoleon could not actually stop. When he went back in Europe, history tells us he caused the Napoleonic Wars. He disorganized the whole of Europe and made the people in other words, he made the different countries to become busy in fighting him, Britain inclusive. And that is the time when he saw that British were now busy. He peeps and comes back, or he peeped and came back. And then whispered to the Batavians, Batavians, can I give you the support? Please, I want to come back at the Cape. Can I? And by then they are telling us that the Batavian Republic was almost collapsing. It was running under a financial bankruptcy. Can I come in? I want to, I want to come back at the Cape. Remember, even the other time when the British had come to give the support, the British had also picked interest in the Cape, although they lived there for a short period of time. And this issue of signing an agreement had come in. So we see Napoleon coming back to work with the Batavians. Within a short period of time, the British had to get to know that the agreement we signed, Napoleon has already bleached it. Napoleon has gone back. He's now working with the Batavians. The British said, no, we have to go back. So they sent a commander with the British forces, and they came this time determined to crush Napoleon. They sent a general called General Bayard. And Bayard had to come fight the Batavians, at the same time fight Napoleon, because they had not lived to the expectation of the agreement. This time the British said, we are taking over the Cape fully, and we are not going to go back. They occupied for the second time. History tells us they Anglicanized the Cape, changed it to look British style. They changed the whole Cape. And he said, no, we are now introducing British reforms. We are now introducing British changes. We are turning the Cape to look English way. And we are chasing away the French, and we are chasing away the Batavians or the Dutch. It's now the British. Because if they knew the Dutch, the so-called Batavians, you did not live to what we agreed upon, and you got to know the terms of the Amiens Treaty. So that's what we call the British occupation of the Cape, by saying that they occupied the Cape twice. First came when they came on a request of the King of Holland. Second coming, they came with anger. They came determined to take over the Cape after the bleaching of the peace treaty of Amiens. So at this moment, I don't know. I'm going to first give Teacher Grace the chance maybe to take us through the factors. Maybe girls should reserve questions for the introduction. Then after Teacher Grace, we shall give in a chance for questions before we shall go to the process. Yes? Yes?
Since you started the discussion, Daphne and Paula Kazina, their hands have been up. Let them ask about the intro. Just to Daphne Namugamo, your hand has been up since.
Teacher, I had a question.
Teacher Grace, your network is not good. Please, as I'm answering the questions, try to relocate and get a good network.
Okay.
My question is, those notes are the ones that are supposed to come exactly after the reasons for the defeat of the Africans during Kafue Wars.
Yeah, they are the ones which are supposed to come after the failure of the British attempts to solve Kafue Wars. Because after the failure to solve Kafue Wars, we go to British occupation. The person who is doing screenshot, please go back to where the topic begins from. British occupation. Another question.
My question is,
hand is up.
Yes.
Yes, Miss, I was saying my question is, did these events happen after the storming of the Boquis or after the storming of the Boquis?
Did these things happen after the storming of the what?
Of the Boquis.
The Bonguis?
Yes, Miss.
I don't understand what you're asking.
The Boquis prison, Miss. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right.
Is it Bonguis? Is it the Bastille?
Oh yes, Miss, the Bastille.
Oh, it is.
Sorry, the Bastille.
Storming of the Bastille. That is A-level history.
The Bastille had been bombed a long time ago. Napoleon is coming came after the storming of the Bastille.
Yes, so Miss,
yes?
One more question.
That being A-level history, I think we shall cross the bridge when we reach there. That is A-level history. The storming of the Bastille, European history now.
Miss, I have one more question.
Yes, ask.
So Napoleon came to the Cape after King Louis the 16th was murdered, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
Can you move the screen so that teacher can get to see the factors? You're now on the course. That person moving the screen, please. Scroll up, no, up, where the thing is starting from. So after that introduction, let's teacher Grace first take us through the reasons why the British occupied the Cape. To you, teacher Grace.
Thank you, teacher Esther. Let me hope my network is now a bit clearer than it was.
Now it is a bit clear.
Okay, we are looking at the factors for the settlement of the British at the Cape. And you have made it clear to the girls that the British came to the Cape for the second time. And we are going through those reasons why they came back and settled at the Cape. Among them, we have the British were, anyway, they were the second group of the whites to settle at the Cape after the Dutch. They occupied the Cape twice. First in 1795 to 1802, and in 1806. This was due to the following reasons. Number one, the strategic location of the Cape being along the Indian Teacherist. I don't know whether you can hear me.
Teacher, we can hear you.
Can hear you.
The person sharing with us the screen should endeavor to be scrolling, because this typing here sabotages my screen. So the strategic location of the Cape being along the Indian Ocean route or Indian trade route attracted the British to settle at the Cape. Of course, they wanted to carry out trade basing on the eastern frontier. That is why they came and settled at the Cape. There was the need by the British to protect a trade sea route to India from the sea pirates, also contributed to their settlement at the Cape. The British came and settled at the Cape because at that time there was a problem of the sea pirates. Of course, you must be knowing the sea pirates. They are criminals operating on waters. At this time, they were on the Indian Ocean and they were disturbing the Cape to curb down whatever the sea pirates were doing, because many people lost their lives because of these sea pirates. They lost their commodities because of the sea pirates, and it greatly, therefore the British came and took over. The reason for their coming was the fertility of the Cape soils that could favor farming. It also attracted the British to settle at the Cape, and they wanted to open up large farms. So the fertility of the soils attracted the British to come and take over the Cape. Another reason, they need by the British to involve themselves in that lucrative trade along the Indian Ocean also attracted them to come. Of course, the trade along the Indian Ocean was too profitable. That is why they came and took over the Cape in order to participate in that profitable trade, such that they could make profits out of it. There was a need to expand the British Empire. It also contributed to the coming of the British at the Cape. The British Empire. Now that the British had taken over some parts of the world, they still felt the need to conquer other areas. and it was one way of expanding their empire. That is why they came and took over the Cape and added it on the already conquered areas that they had. There was a desire to establish a naval base. The person sharing the screen is very speedy. So the desire to establish a naval base to strengthen their empire in East Africa contributed to the British settlement at the Cape. Of course, the British came and took over the Cape because they wanted to have a military base at the Cape, just to strengthen themselves in Africa and South Africa in particular. It was one way of consolidating themselves in South Africa and Africa at large. Another reason for their coming, the British wanted raw materials such as tobacco, coffee, cotton, among others, for their industries at home, which made them to settle at the Cape and grow them. Their desire for raw materials, it was because of the Industrial Revolution that had taken place in Europe, and their industries were hungry. They needed raw materials that were not available in Europe. Therefore, they came and took over the Cape of South Africa in order to grow those cash crops that would work as raw materials to feed their hungry industries at home. Next to that, the British wanted to acquire cheap labor to grow raw materials for their industries at the Cape, hence they are coming. Of course, they are coming at the Cape in South Africa. They wanted to get cheap labor of the Africans who were there, such that they could grow cash crops for them and feed their industries that were in dire need of those raw materials. That's why they came and took over the Cape, just because they wanted labor. Next to that, there was a need to gain prestige as a colonial power led to the British settlement at the Cape. During the scrum and the partition of Africa, the European countries, of course, rushed to Africa. Africa was partitioned and it was shared as if it was a piece of cake. But according to history, the more colonies the European country had, the more prestige and respect. In this case, Britain came and took over South Africa because it wanted to be prestigious, because it wanted to be respected by other European countries by then. That is why South Africa fell prey to the British and it was taken over for the second time. Another reason, the Industrial Revolution and the market led to the British occupation. Industrial Revolution, yes. The establishment of industries in Europe created a need for raw materials, and they looked at South Africa as a potential area for the production of raw materials. That is why they decided to come and take over South Africa, such that it would be used to grow raw materials, like I mentioned, the cotton, coffee, tobacco, that would work as raw materials to feed their industries at home. Another slide. Another reason here, the background of the fierce commercial competition from other European countries such as Spain, France, and Portugal. You very well know by the time the British came and took over South Africa, Portugal was already there. France was already a threat to Britain. Now, Britain decided to come and take over the Cape of South Africa to outcompete France and Portugal in trade, especially along the Indian Ocean. Another reason is the French abrogation of Amiens with the Bataviani rulers led to the British second occupation of the Cape. Now that France had breached the Amiens peace treaty of 1802 that had been signed, Britain had to come and take over South Africa because the British knew that the French would again come and take over South Africa. That is why Britain rushed to South Africa and took over the Cape before the French had taken it over after the abrogation of the Amiens Peace Treaty, like Teacher Reste explained it to you. There was also the desire by the British to get market for their surplus products produced by their industries, yes, contributed to their settlement at the Cape. Like any other European country, after the Industrial Revolution, those industries produced a lot of commodities that didn't have a market in Europe, and Africa was a potential market for their manufactured goods by that time. Therefore, the production of surplus goods in Europe, in particular Britain, made them to come and take over South Africa because they knew South Africa had a market for their produced commodities. That is why South Africa landed into the hands of the British for the second time.
Teacher, may I please explain
More
that?
still, yeah, yes.
Teacher, I was interesting. Could you please explain the point of French abrogation of the Amiens Peace Treaty?
French abrogation, Amiens Peace Treaty, yes, 1802. The Amiens Peace Treaty was signed between France, Britain, and Holland by then. At that time, France was stopped. After that treaty, like a teacher made it France to vacate Holland. But later, France abrogated that treaty. It again attacked Holland, and this sent a signal to Britain that after France had attacked Holland for the second time, chances were high for France to again come to the Cape of South Africa, which was occupied by the Dutch, to take it over. That is why Britain rushed to come to South Africa before the French to take it over. And it becomes a reason for the British occupation of the Cape. I don't know whether I'm clear with you.
Teacher, you are breaking, but yes, thank you.
Is it the network?
There's a bit on the network now.
Okay, let us continue. The second point has been explained about the market producing the surplus commodities that they needed the market in Africa. They ended up taking over South Africa because they needed the market for it. Another one says the 1815, Shona, please scroll a bit, which formalized. Shona, scroll a bit upwards. 1815 Vienna Settlement, which formalized the British occupation of the Cape, partly led to their settlement. Yes, 1815 Vienna Settlement. Britain was allowed to come and take over the Cape legally because it was among the victor powers. So it was allowed to come and take over the Cape after fighting against Napoleon, who had disturbed Europe for very many years. Britain was allowed to come and take over the Cape. Because what we should remember, we are looking at the reasons why Britain came and took over the Cape. Among those reasons was after the 1815 Vienna Settlement, where the European countries went, they sat, they discussed over very many issues, and during the Vienna Settlement, Britain was allowed to come and take over the Cape at the expense of the Dutch. There was need to establish a coaling station at the Cape where the traders could call in, Shona scroll a bit, could call in on their journey to the Far East, that is Asia, contributed to the settlement of the British at the Cape. They needed to establish a coaling station.
Teacher Grace, your network has started
Okay,
getting bad.
The British
Teacher Grace,
decided
the
to come and
network.
take over the Cape because they would use the Cape
network.
to refresh
Teacher Grace, your network.
the
Teacher Grace, you're breaking, my dear Teacher Grace. Look for a good network.
ship, and because it was strategically located, they ended up settling at the Cape.
Teacher Grace, your network, you're breaking.
I'm trying to relocate.
You're
I'm
breaking.
trying to relocate Teacher Reste.
The previous point we didn't hear
Teacher
anything.
Reste, what should we do? It is raining this way.
And now, yeah.
Take over.
Okay, Teacher Grace. Hello. Girls, can you be able to hear me?
Yes, teacher, I can hear
Yes,
you.
teacher. Yes, teacher.
I don't know if it's on. Okay. Teacher Grace. Okay.
She's not
Could you
on.
take me to? Oh. Okay. She was on the point of the calling station, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, teacher.
Okay. So another reason why the British took over the Cape, they're telling us that there was the need to establish a calling station at the Cape where traders could call on or could call in on their journey to East. Also, that one contributed. When they talk about a calling station, I always look at it as a place where these sailors or these traders, as they were coming from England or as were coming from Europe, going to the Far East, a place that they would first rest, call on their journey, rest, and maybe do, like, I won't say repairing, refueling their ships, maybe fast resting, pause a bit, and had some things to discuss concerning the journey. Then after, they would go. In other words, I'll look at the Cape being located in the middle, where these people could first call off and say, what can we discuss? What can we do? Is there any ship that is actually spoiled? Is there a ship that needs to be refueled or repaired? Then they would go on. That is why that's why they had occupied the Cape. Then France's attack on Holland from 1794 to 1795 weakened Holland financially and made King William of Holland to invite Britain. Remember in my introduction, I told you the British had no intention of settling at the Cape. Had it not been the invitation from the King of Holland. So the financial constraints that the Dutch were facing at the Cape forced the King to invite the British. So when the French came and attacked the already drained Cape under the Dutch, they were forced to call on the British because they were looking at the British as the people who could give them rescue. And provided that the pockets were also draining, they looked at them as the only savior. That's why maybe they ended up coming at the Cape. Britain had fears that Napoleonic wars may end up spreading into South Africa, hence disorganizing the trade, a reason they occupied the Cape. I've already said Napoleon had disorganized the whole of Europe. Every country was fearing Napoleon, apart from maybe Britain. So British knew that Napoleon, who had disorganized Europe, once he turns and occupies the Cape, he was also going to disorganize South Africa. So the British said, no, if he has gone to South Africa, let's go silence him from there so that he does not occupy that country. He does not occupy the Cape, because the moment he settles that the Cape Bepa and then he settles there, he will not allow any other country to pass the Cape to go to the Far East, that is India, and participate in the lucrative trade that was taking place there. He would feel that he's the boss. He's done to participate in the trade the other side. At the same time, he's done to participate in the trade the other side. They said, no, let's go occupy. Needed to obtain revenue for Britain. They wanted to obtain revenue from the pass by ships to India. In other words, they wanted to collect money. They knew that the ships would be passing from different countries to go and trade in the Far East. So it's better we occupy. When those ships from the Far East are passing, we collect money from them. The British had a long trading partnership with the Southeast Asia. They therefore had to occupy the Cape to strengthen this partnership. Remember, the Cape was located midway between the Far East, where Asia is, and then Europe. So because they had already partnered with those people, they had participated in trade with those people. This is a clear reason why they went and occupied the Cape, because they knew they were going to be in the middle and they will be able to control that trade. They will be in the middle and they will be able to control that trade. That is also another reason why these people went on and occupied the Cape.
Excuse me, teacher. Teacher, I didn't get the point of surplus or goods which were produced in, okay, that they wanted market, something like that. I didn't get, my connection was poor.
I thought we were going to ask at the end, but the point of market partnership, is it the point of partnership that you're asking?
Yes.
I think the partnership. Yeah, we are. People would bring goods and take them to their home country. In other words, they were doing exchange. Or the people of the Far East were already customers buying goods from Britain. At the same time, the others of Britain would also come and buy goods from the Far East. But looking at the distance from the Cape, going when you look at the distance had become big. By the time you move from Europe or from Britain to come to the Far East, the distance was big. Then by the time someone will move from the Far East to come back to England, was big. That's why they wanted to break the journey and come and settle at the Cape. Remember, the Cape was located midway, in the middle between Europe and Asia, or and the Far East, implying now here the journey was going to be cut short and the trade would be easily carried out. So the partnership thing that they had would easily be made better. That is what they were trying to mean there. Then the collapse of the Dutch East Indian Company, the DECO, at the Cape, due to financial weakness. After the DECO collapsing, the British said, we can replace the DECO. We can come in and also form our British company that can carry out the activities like how the DECO had been carrying out those activities. They ended up coming and occupying the Cape because they knew that DECO was working. Even their company, if they come and occupy the Cape, they can go an extra mile, form their company, and their company can carry on the activities like how the DECO had been carrying out these activities. So they were actually forced to come and occupy the Cape. A presence of good natural harbors at the Cape that favored the anchoring of the British trading ships also favored their settlements. They had their ships. By the moment they got to understand that their ships would have harbors where they would anchor, where they would rest, where they would first anchor and repair them, refuel them. That was one of the attracting things, that the harbors attracted them. Because they knew if it comes to anchoring, yes. If it comes to this, yes. So they looked at the Cape as being a best option for them to occupy. After all such services were available at the Cape. Look at the availability of the fresh waters at the Cape that could be used for both domestic and industrial work, also attracted. The waters were there. And they were fresh for human consumption. If it comes to agriculture, the waters will work. If it would come to industrial sector, they would again work. So that one made them to come and occupy the Cape and take over. And needed to protect the British farmers who were at the Cape. There were some British farmers who were living at the Cape, so they wanted to protect them. Away from the French and the Boer threats. This also attracted them. So in other words, they had come to actually protect those farmers. They had come to protect those English farmers. Maybe get a way of providing them a market for their finished goods or for their agricultural goods. Protect them from the Boer and the French threats, etc. Then the Mediterranean type of climate at the Cape. It was very conducive for human settlements. And I know it was very conducive for agriculture. And that one also might have attracted them. Because whenever the climate is very good, whenever the climate is actually very conducive, it has a way it attracts the person to come and settle in a place that that person wants to come in and settle. So such a Mediterranean type of climate at the Cape attracted them to come and take over the Cape. And then the British involvement in the defeat of Napoleon in 1814 made the Vienna States to award her with the Cape. On this point, you know how Napoleon was a problem. I've already described, I don't want to go much in A-level history, but if I can just give a clue, he was one person whom you could defeat today, and he claims that you didn't defeat him. Maybe there was something small that was disturbing him. He had an overwhelming ambition via fighting. He could not get satisfied with something. I'm telling you, he defeated all countries like how I've said. And he failed to silence Britain, one country like this. He's had to scratch his head and say, but why am I not defeating Britain? Why is it whenever I go on a battlefield to defeat Britain, I fail? He got to know one thing, that the military might of Britain is lying into his economic might. The moment I close the eye of the economy, I would have closed the eye of the military. He put a blockade onto the borders of Britain. He closed the borders of the country, which was not his country. And he told European countries, you are the ones who are making Britain to become economically strong. Now, this is what I'm saying. I've closed the borders. I don't want to see any person crossing, entering Britain, and you purchase goods. If you want to buy goods, Napoleon, I say, come and buy goods from France. If you reach France, because Britain had become a workshop of Europe, every country was buying goods from Britain. Anything that you can't produce in your country, you can find it in Britain. He said, I'm closing. If you want to buy goods, come to France. You reach France, the item you want to buy is not there. Please go back in your home country and settle peacefully and know that that one is not there. Whoa, countries suffered. People died. Businessmen collapsed. Businesses collapsed because he was putting himself in the shoes of Britain that he can't fit. Whoever would tamper to break the continental system and you go and buy goods from Britain, Napoleon will jail you. To an extent that even he jailed the Pope, because also Italy broke the continental system and Pope went to buy goods for his people. Napoleon got the Pope without knowing that this is a religious leader. He put the Pope in jail to discipline him to respect his superiors like Napoleon. So one thing I can say is that Napoleon was a madman. But when you look at the time, when the time to fight Napoleon came, countries were led by Britain in the struggle to fight Napoleon. That's why our point is British's involvement in the defeat of Napoleon made the peace settlement that sat after Napoleon's collapse, called the Vienna Settlement, in the town of Vienna, which is found in Austria. They stood up those delegates that had sat to say bye-bye to Napoleon. Peace back to Europe. They said to Britain, you did something very strong. You led us when we were fighting a stubborn creature who had disorganized Europe. We didn't know that his leadership would actually end. This is what we are rewarding you with. Go occupy the Cape of South Africa. We have given you that place. It is a reward for your efforts, for your, you did a lot. You laid us, without you, other countries, we were nothing, or we couldn't manage. So she had to occupy because it was like a reward that had been given to her. So in conclusion, the factors for the British occupation are the Cape, our both push and pull. We cannot say we're only push, neither can we say we're pull. But for the reasons why these people came, we joined the push and the pulling factors. Yeah, can I entertain questions from the girls before we move on? I know girls might be having questions, please.
Push and pull me.
Okay. When the teachers were teaching you migrations, I know your teachers in East Africa might have taught you migrations. We have two clusters through which we look at the reasons for people's moving. When I happen to talk about a pull factor is something that you're looking at in the new land where you're going. For example, you say the Bantu migrated from their cradle land and went to East Africa because of the fertile soils in East Africa, because of the good climate in East Africa. Something that is heard of that and occupy another area. You want to leave Gayaza, go to Kamocha. But you're hearing the things that people are talking about that Kamocha has. Kamocha has got beautiful sceneries. Kamocha has got entertaining places. Kamocha has got this. It is, the words, the rumors that are talked about Kamocha are going to pull you. That becomes a pushing way, or those become pushing factors. But what a push? Push, you don't go by the attractions in the new place. You look at what is becoming a problem in a place where you're actually living. I'm leaving Gayaza because Gayaza has got an increased, the increased population in Gayaza is making my life unbearable. I cannot live in a place where people are very many. Infertile soils in Gayaza are forcing me to go to Kamocha because even if you grow something in Gayaza, it can't come out well. The harsh climate, external conflicts within Gayaza, something which is here, it is pushing you to go. It is telling you don't stay. Even if you stay, the situation here you cannot bear, you're pushed to leave. Now, when it comes to migrations, that is Bantu, Ngoni, Luo, we only take pushing factors. We don't take pull. Look at only the pushing, the things which these people had witnessed, not what they had told them in the new area. But when it comes to these other earliest peoples, like the Portuguese, the coasts, the Arabs, Now here, the British, the Dutch, for them, we join both pull and push. But in migration, it's on a push. Let me hope I'm clear. Any other question, please, people? Yes, yes, Cynthia. Cynthia, please, can you ask? Cynthia, your voice, your network is not clear, please. Cynthia, your network is not clear, please. Can you make your network okay? Can you hear me? Now I can hear you. I can't hear you well. Maybe put your question, Cynthia, in the chat. Yes, Teacher Grace.
Teacher, it seems that she's far from her microphone.
Cynthia, can you
let her be closer?
Okay. Any other question, people, before we go on? Any other question?
Yes, teacher.
Ndagire, Shona has a question. Shona has a question.
Yes, teacher. I was asking that what happened to the French Huguenots who had come to help the Dutch with their crops, with their farming. What happened to them after the British came?
You know, some of those people remained at the Cape. Some, you know, it was only one thing, like how we see the Dutch. Those who are willing to bear with the new coming of the British stayed. Those who felt they couldn't bear, they migrated and went back, or they moved into the interior. So you may find that some of the Huguenots, some of them might have gone into the interior. You may find some stayed there because not everyone was feeling bad when the British came.
Yes. Let us hear from Lauren. Lauren Lusinga.
Yes, teacher. Which country was Napoleon from?
That was France. It was France. Paula Kazina.
Yes, miss, can you hear me?
Yes.
I had had a question. It was about the British and how they tried to like take be in like rulership over over South Africa and not Napoleon, right? So I was asking, when they were trying to get like full like I'm going to use the word custody over South Africa. Did
Alliance, but then the Triple Alliance had yet not been formed because the Triple Alliance was 1914 in World War I.
And the teacher
it had not yet been
seems
formed.
Our girls read ahead. They have now crossed from O level to A level history. There is some information that is irrelevant now. You are not going to apply it anywhere in O level exams. That's why we avoid talking about some things.
But maybe what we can tell her
about a Triple Alliance.
No, not Triple Alliance. The British automatically put support because there were some countries that were supporting Britain to take over the Cape. You may find that most of the European powers supported her. That's why when our last point was talking about Vienna Settlement, because if the Vienna Settlement, because the last point was saying the Vienna Settlement allowed them.
Yes.
That's why the countries that Vienna came up and supported the British to take over.
Okay, thank you.
Rebecca?
Teacher, please may you help me explain the point of the French abrogation of Amiens Peace Treaty of 1802 and decided to collaborate with the Batavian rulers led to the British second occupation of the Cape.
Okay, let me be brief, but I already talked about it and I had Teacher Grace also talking about it. We said when the British came for the first time, they had come under the invitation of the King of Holland, just because the King of Holland had been attacked by Napoleon. So when they came, Napoleon was not happy. Like, you have taken over but now Napoleon had taken over the Dutch. And now sees the British coming, and he is aware that in Britain, in Europe, back home, it's Britain which is giving me a hard time. After silencing all other countries, I've thought again. He asks them, people, why are you here? The British also asked him, why are you here? Britain said, for me, I've just been invited. By who? By the King of Holland to come and assist him because you people, you invaded him. Oh, okay. So the King of Holland invited you. The King of the Dutch invited you, King William, to come and give him support to fight against us. And we are the problem. But let me, now ask let me think. You have to come to give in the support, but you don't want to take over because I know you might also have the feelings to take over. Now, if you don't want the Cape, now it's Napoleon speaking. If you don't want the Cape Britain, now your intention, you have come to just help. Let us sign an agreement called the Peace Treaty of Amiens. Let's meet at Amiens. Agreements are always named in most cases the places where they are signed. Hence that name, Amiens. And we signed an agreement, and under this agreement, we are saying Britain, pack and leave and go back to Holland because me, the French whom you had come to fight, I'm also packing, I've accepted to leave the Cape. But as I'm leaving, you're leaving. Because what had brought you was me, I've accepted to go. They signed up a Treaty of Amiens. But in that treaty, they agreed, we are giving the Cape to the Dutch, who are the rightful owners, though we are changing the name to show that as if the Dutch are now new. They have moved away from the bondage of the French who had tied them. Now it is purely Dutch. We are going to call them the Batavians.
The
And their leadership is
Batavians.
the Batavian leadership. But as we are going, don't ever come back to help the Batavians, you Napoleon, even if they are under a strict, bad financial crisis. Also, the Britain told Napoleon, don't ever come back, you the French, to assist. We shall never come back, you'll never come back. If any one of us breaches the agreement, that is where the problem is going to come. Now they all went. The Batavians took over. But they tell us when Napoleon reached home, Napoleon was having the interest to come back. But he feared to bleach the agreement. So he had to get something that would disorganize the British, and he bleaches the agreement thinking the British would not know. That's why I said when he reached Europe, he caused the Napoleonic Wars. He again fought the European countries as if he has never fought them anytime. The British became busy in stopping Napoleonic Wars everywhere. The British became busy in making Napoleon Wars be silenced. So they couldn't even come to silence these people. I mean, they couldn't even know that the Napoleon had come back. That is the time that Napoleon is going to use, knowing the British are busy. He came and worked with the Batavians. He came back to occupy the Cape. Later, the British got to know that Napoleon had breached the agreement. He's already back at the Cape. The British said, no, this time we should not just still who's around. Let's go in full gear to take over the Cape. They came back for the second occupation. That is what I call the bleaching of the agreement and the second occupation of the British. They Anglicanized the Cape and introduced the British reforms to show that the Cape is now back into the hands of the British. And remember, when I say Anglicanized, they introduced the things that were purely for Britain. They rubbished the ones for the Dutch and took away the ones for the French. Time is again start. Is there any other question, please? I think I've answered that one. Shona, I'm seeing your hand still up. Shona, please. Okay. Teacher Grace, is there any other question or we close the session?
It has been Shona and she has been the last one. If she has a question, let her ask and we have a closing prayer. You forgot your hand up?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So you choose someone to lead us in a closing prayer. Thank you. No one?
Let us have a closing prayer. Aisha Moya, please lead us in a closing prayer. Aisha. Nasuna Leila, please.
Let's have ourselves for a word of
Get
prayer.
the blessings.
Oh Lord Jesus Christ, one, thank you for this day, one, thank you for the gift of
Nasuna
life.
has also disappeared. Oh.
There is someone who was leading.
We want to thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for this lesson and we pray that we may remember everything that was taught to us. We pray that we may get the courage to go back and read through everything, and we pray for our teacher. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen.
Hello, thank you, teacher.
Thank you,
Thank you,
teacher.
guys.
Bye, Shona.